Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. NFL Power Rankings Week 5 is only one day away. It's been an amazing week for sports. Baseball season ended with a smash. 4 week of NFL was pretty intense, and it's time to update the rankings where I think all the teams sit. Before we do, please join down there into that smashing like button, subscribing, all that fun stuff. Really want to see this community grow. It's a bunch of good people starting to show up through the mix, so hopefully more guys will continue to come along. Number 32 sticking in that spot. I think I heard them confirm how many losses were in a row on the broadcast this week, but I can't remember. It's probably 19 now, but they almost won. But until they do, they're going to stay in 32nd. I can't possibly put them higher because I haven't seen them win in almost 2 years. So that's where they're sticking. Number 31, new number 31, we got the Houston Texans. Of course, they do have the win over number 32 first week of the season, but they haven't been with Tyrod Taylor, at least for a little while. The rain in Buffalo really got to them this week. And what can you do? They're pretty much atrocious, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 30, moving on up one spot. Giving them a little boost, of course, because Houston just looks so terrible, but they also picked up a huge come-from-behind win against the Tennessee Titans, and they got to be a little excited about that as first win under Luke Wilson for the Jets, and they're taking a step forward. While I think they're going to be pretty much assuring for last in this division, the way Miami has kind of struggled as of late, who knows? Maybe they're going to make a couple steps forward because these other teams are really starting to look rough as well. Number 29, the Detroit Lions. Like, arguably the Jets could be ahead of these guys potentially. I've liked what I saw early with the Lions. Of course, they've lost the past two, I think, or something like that. Not a lot going for them. Goff just can't seem to pull it together. They lose the division game, and they looked in a game where really I thought they should win a big portion of it. A lot of chances. They just couldn't capitalize. Turnovers. Chicago defense got to them, and that Chicago game was rough. Number 28, got the Atlanta Falcons. Just a rough loss to the Washington football team. Of course, this division of theirs, they're likely going to end up in last. Matt Ryan's maybe coming near the end of his legs, although he still looks like he can be the offensive threat. Pitts looked pretty good for them, but they just can't find wins. They win these close games, but they can't seem to find the wins. And honestly, I shuffled these right before I did it, so I'm going to undo it because they were supposed to be 27, and the Giants were 28. Giants had a big come-from-behind victory against the Saints. Barkley with a couple of touchdowns, receiving, running threat. Got to be pretty excited about that. Daniel Jones has been one of the number one fantasy quarterbacks this year, so you got to be excited about that. But they just haven't been able to get the wins until their first win this week. They lost to Atlanta last week. That's why I do have them a little bit lower, because how can you be ahead of a team that just beat you? We'll get to that in a moment because I do that, just so you know. 26, Eagles coming off a big defeat against the Chiefs. They just couldn't go pound for pound with the Chiefs' offense. They did for the first half of the game. They kept it close, but the defense slowly got withered away, and Mahomes just had a field day, whereas their offense just couldn't continuously put it up. They're in a division where they're falling behind the Cowboys pretty quickly. And I think they're definitely in that rebuilding stage as a franchise. Number 25. We got the Patriots, and honestly, they probably should be a little bit higher. I just want to see them for one more week before I probably bump them up a little bit if they continue the kind of performance they had. They lost the first week against the Dolphins. And of course, they put Tampa Bay right to the wire in this last week. They probably should have won if they didn't doink that last field goal at the end. Belichick getting possibly some revenge, but overall their defense has held them pretty good. We did see Gilmore get traded today, so we will see if that has any impact. Number 24, right ahead of them, I do have the Dolphins. Mainly holding that spot over them right now because of week 1. I know we're now 4 weeks past, but start week 5. So this week could very much be a pivotal part of the way these guys interact the rest of the power rankings going forward. Dolphins definitely haven't won since Tua's gone out. They've kind of struggled. They got pretty beat up pretty badly against Indy. Brissett didn't look too bad, but they couldn't get it done. The running game definitely just isn't there for the Dolphins. 23, we got the Washington football team with the old school logo. I'm sorry. But Washington, they had a nice comeback against Atlanta. But still, there's just seems something wrong with this team. Their defense isn't pulling what they should be pulling as they were last year. And the offense just not been super consistent. They've at least are still in the race. They've picked up some wins along the way where they needed to. But it seems to me that they're a far way off from being a playoff contender based on what I've seen so far. Number 22, we got the Bears, who have picked up a couple wins this season. Justin Fields announced this week he is going to be the starter going forward. Doesn't matter if Dalton gets healthy, he's the starter. But they shouldn't have beat the Lions, in my opinion. The Lions really, the turnovers killed them. But they are slightly better because they're picking up the wins along the way. I still don't see them much of a division threat to win the division, but we'll see. A lot to see from Chicago, number 21. We got the 1-3 Minnesota Vikings. Not the start Minnesota Vikings fans would have thought and hoped for. And honestly, they didn't get much offense going at all. Kirk Cousins down the stretch against Cleveland, just doing old school Kirk Cousins things, giving the ball away. They lose, and their division is pretty much out of hand as well at this point. Number 19, Cincinnati Bengals, number 20, Cincinnati Bengals. They win against Jacksonville. They had a chance to lose that one. That game was close. They came from behind in the fourth quarter. Mixon missing the last little bit of the game, so there's some question marks surrounding around him. And without Mixon, their offensive threat definitely goes down. They're definitely a middling team in the NFL right now with potential to move on up. We're probably at the bottom range of where we're going to see Cincinnati right now. Number 19, they took their first loss of the season this past weekend. But there's a lot of concerns. They had a very easy schedule out of the gate, going 3-0, and then when they finally get into a real test, they don't really keep it too close at all. And they're without McCaffrey, it's whether Sam Darnold can actually contend when the games matter up for debate right now. Number 18, we got the Colts, another 1-3 team, but they've played every team tough, and they've grinded out a nice, decent win against the Dolphins to bounce back, and it really helped them to stay in the middle pack of the power rankings because Tennessee lost. Now Tennessee's 2-2. They're 1-3, so really they're only one game back, and they have these two teams out of there. So it's a Tennessee-Indy matchup really at this point, and so they're at least in the middle of the pack. 17, San Francisco 49ers. Not consistent enough. They just lose again this week. Trying to remember exactly how that one went, but they were favorites going in, and they just couldn't catch up once falling behind. So a lot of question marks. Trey Lance ended up playing a lot of the game. The running back situation's been a little rough this season, and whether they can get the offense going, it's going to be a question to be seen. 16, we got the Steelers. Steelers lose again. It's been a rough couple of weeks for the Steelers. Been just not looking like themselves, and Green Bay really handled them. Honestly, the division, they're third in the division at this point. And we got the Bengals right on their tails. And the Bengals, I believe, beat them earlier. So technically, the Bengals are probably up ahead of them. This middling ground here, the middle of the power rankings, is pretty interchangeable with a lot of these teams. So don't hold that difference too much. Number 15, we got Denver Broncos. They're somewhat in the same similar situation as the Carolina Panthers in the fact that they're 3-1, but they had the three easiest teams to kick things off, and they got into a test and they lost. So Teddy Bridgewater left the game with concussion protocol. Might contribute a little bit. I do think the defense in there and the offense is set up to be pretty successful. But again, it's just one of those another middling teams. 14 probably could be in the same category. Another 3-1 team with the Oakland Raiders. We saw them get exposed on Monday night by the Chargers. Falling way behind. The defense just getting shredded to pieces, and the offense couldn't get anything going against San Diego or LA Chargers team that looked very strong. So yeah, tough division for these two teams, especially. Next up, we got New Orleans Saints. They're number 13, and so far this season, both losses for the Saints have been coming in pretty ugly fashion. So week 5 is going to be very, very pivotal for them in the opinion of me and how I'm going to treat them going forward. Because right now we've seen like basically 2 different Jekyll and Hyde sides of the Saints. If you kind of even them out, I put them right at the top side of the upper echelon. Of course, they got to be making up some ground against a 3-1 Panthers. They got a tough Falcons team that always plays them tough, and they of course got the reigning Super Bowl champions. Right now, I see them fighting for a playoff spot at number 13, but not quite in there. Number 12, we got the Seattle Seahawks. Picking up a nice win on the road, the Seahawks did. Don't know what else to say. They just played good. Russell Wilson got it done. And they're 2-2 now on the season, with a lot of division games to play. Big test this week against the Cardinals. Number 11, we got the Titans, who just fell apart against the Jets. And again, it's been another one of those Jekyll and Hyde. To me, these teams are Jekyll and Hyde central. We got very good teams with potential to get lots done. And some days they just fall flat, and it's the Titans in this case. The Seahawks fell to the Titans when they played earlier this season in a kind of a crappy spot like that. And of course, we see the Saints with the falling to the Giants. It's just a weird, they're all seem strong teams and when they are getting everything together, but it's just not meant to be. Number 10, stunning a lot of us with their Monday night performance. Herbert and Cook and freaking Eckler just had monster nights, and their defense came up big, and they won a pretty solid game played by them all around. Got me pretty excited. They beat the Chiefs, they beat the Raiders. A lot of confidence in this team right now. If they can keep the streak going, they will skyrocket up this power rankings if the other teams ahead of them continue to fluster a bit. And we'll see how that goes. Number 9. After losing the Super Bowl champions right off the bat, the Cowboys have played solid. Getting 3 wins in a row now, leading the division, pretty much a hands-down lock for the division at this point. Still think they might be one of the lower seeds in the NFC playoffs, hence why I got them at number 9. But Cowboys fans got to be excited. As long as Dak Prescott is back, playoffs are all but certain, I think, for the Cowboys. Number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. They got it done against Denver on the road. And so they got to be pretty excited about that. They snuck by the Lions by the skin of their teeth. But they're doing good. They have had a good start to the season. They've had 1 loss. And they beat the Chiefs. They beat the Broncos. And they beat the Lions. So you got to be pretty pumped about that. Number 7. Cleveland Browns, currently top dog in the AFC North. They've been good. They kept the Minnesota Vikings to 7 points, shutting down Cousins, Thielen, all those guys. And the week before that, Amir Garrett got, 7, 8 sacks. Their defense has just been good. Baker Mayfield, questionable, but he's doing enough to get them the wins. And they're definitely going to be a top team to compete with. Had they not blown that one game against this team, number 6, the Chiefs, they would have been 4-0. Chief, number 6, big statement game coming out in week 4 against the Eagles. Their offense carrying the load as they so often have done in the past. And yeah, a lot of people are like, they're 2-2. Why are they number 6? Come on, it's the Chiefs. They're very much going to be one of the top teams in the league any given night. And honestly, you got to give them a chance. They've had a lot of new players come in there that need to adapt to this team, especially on the lines. And Mahomes is a leader, and he gave up some good speech when they lost to the Chargers in week 3. And I really want to believe that this team is for real still. And of course, a lot of concerns around the defense. Number 5, going down quite a bit here. And it's because really I feel like they should have lost to the Patriots. Of course, they got game plan for well. The weather was very bad. They're missing Gronk. All these things kind of going into the factor. But from what I compare to the top 4 teams, I just think a head-to-head match right now, the Bucs are a little bit behind. Of course, ex-Super Bowl champs. They're going to figure it out. But for now, got over number 5. Just slightly ahead of last week's number 1, the Rams, who really got put in their place this past week on the Arizona Cardinals. And I did warn on my pregame kickoff show about how the Rams hadn't quite been tested yet, other than Tampa Bay, leaving room for a big letdown spot. And of course, that's what happened. But yeah, we need to see how they rebound to this. Maybe they'll come back with huge colors and they'll go back up. Number 3, the Green Bay Packers. There's a couple things that go into this. A, they've won 3 in a row, and handily, most of them. Ever since that rough start, Packers have really turned on. They're like kind of like a quick wake-up call, and they've figured it out. They also are in a very weak division, to which these are the next biggest contenders. So you would think that they're going to be a lock for this division at this point as well. So what's that? I give it 3 locks for divisions already. We're about to give it a 4th, so that only leaves 4. So there you go, Green Bay. And that leaves number 2. We got the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals 4-0. Best record going right now. I think they're their only undefeated team now. But not number 1. I'll get to that in a sec. They do have a very tough division. They don't have it unlocked. These other teams are going to be fighting for them, scraping all the way. They have a tough game against Seattle this week. They got to keep proving themselves. And unfortunately, due to their division, they probably got to pick up 13 wins if they're going to win it. Maybe 12 will get there, but 13 is what I'm saying right now, which leaves us to number 1. The Buffalo Bills, another for sure lock at this point for the division. They've smashed their opponent, 3 games in a row now, and their offense has been firing, their defense has been firing, their division is basically a lock, and they beat the Cardinals last year. Or no, wait, the Cardinals beat them last year on a Hail Mary. Was that not? One of them got a Hail Mary. Pretty sure it's the Cardinals now. So, X-nay on that last comment. Otherwise, guys, that is 1 through 32 in the NFL heading into week 5. Let me know what you guys think. Who's too high? Who's too low? Is my reasoning flawed? Some spots, I'm sure it is. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Peace out.